All right, welcome to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing well on today. For some of you who are in the US or in some other places like the Caribbean, you may still be enjoying the Sabbath day. Others, by the time you hear this, it is probably going to be past Sabbath, all right? But or whenever you listen to this on any day of the week, I thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you, especially those of you who are my subscribers who commented on the last share. Very few people saw that share. Please, guys, when I say that my channel is shadow banned, please believe me. I know my life. I know things that are going on in my life, and some of them I'm going to share with you today are things that have gone on in my life. So when I say that I'm shadow banned, I'm not some nut on the internet or someone who is an egomaniac who thinks that, oh, nobody's watching, so I must be shadow banned. No, I'm going to share with you some things. I'm a very personal person. I don't share a lot about myself, and I have no regrets of that about that. I've seen people overshare on the internet, and I've seen people just be themselves on the internet, and unfortunately, some very demented people have taken advantage of some of the things that they've shared, all right, and used it against them, or it's things that you can't even imagine someone would try to use against someone. That makes no sense at all. They tend to try to use those things to stifle the person. Well, I'm not like that, so you can do your best and your worst after I share this, or based on anything else that I share. It's not going to change my mind. It's not going to shake me. All right, not at all. All right, so, and not at all is, how Ghanaians usually say not at all. All right, but today I'm going to share some things that have happened to me and why I am so passionate about us being aware of our lives and the things that are going on in this world, especially those of us who are enlightened in some areas, particularly concerning our faith, who we are as the children of Israel, enlightened about some things in the world. We've traveled and we've seen. Um, Traveling gives you another perspective of the world, no matter how enlightened you are in wherever you are, right? But it's just something about traveling and seeing that adds to that. Okay, so I'm not saying unless you travel, you won't be enlightened. I'm just saying when you travel, it adds to your understanding and your perception of the world and your ability to see things for what they really are and people for what they really are and who they really are. And so today I want to discuss something that has happened to me in the past. And I've been feeling a nudge to share this for the last couple of days. It's not for any other reason other than to warn some people. I really feel someone needs to know this. So let me get into it. All right. So years ago, if you all know, based on the pictures, hopefully I'll have them up here by now, you'll see a white van, right? This is often known as the Kidnapper van, okay? And I want to tell you that there is such a thing as a Kidnapper van, okay? I've had my own experience twice, where, that I know of, where they actually attempted to, I believe, either kidnap or kill. And this has been some years ago, prior to me coming to the African continent, but I had already made so many connections. I had already planned on coming, and actually, it wasn't long after this that I actually traveled. Okay. I had many friends who were from Africa. I had many friends from around the world, from various Caribbean countries, from Mexico, from Europe, from just different places. I had met a lot of people, and I'm very happy that I had. But at this time in my life, I was caring for a loved one that was sick, and my son was very young. And my experience with the Kidnapper van occurred one night while I was in my house. It was early morning, and I was not asleep. I'd been caring for someone who was sick, a loved one, family member who was very ill. And I was in the living room, and I had been lying down on the couch. And I heard the noise outside, and when I went and looked out the window, I saw a white van on our street. Now, our street is a very quiet street. That entire street is one of the streets that used to be owned. Half of it was owned by family members, right? At this time, though, we were the only black family on that street. Isn't that interesting? Stories for another day. Okay. But we still owned a good bit of the land on that street. And so the knock came at the door, and I went to the door. I had already been to the window, and I went to the door. But I grabbed the phone, and I had the cordless phone. At that time it was a cordless phone. I had it behind my back. And I moved away from the door and went back to the window. And the person was now standing on the porch, and it was a tall white male. And he said to me, I said yes, and he said, please, I need some help. I need some help. My wife is in the van. She's bleeding to death. I need your help. Please come and help me. And I said, well, the EMS is straight down the street. The fire department is straight down the street. Go straight down the street, make a left, and you can't miss it. Go up just a little bit. They are on the left. He said, no, no, no. I need you to come out right now. Please, please help me. My wife is bleeding to death. By now, I know that he's lying. Okay, I already suspected it. And so I'm talking to him, but with my left hand, I'm holding the phone out of his view. I'm dialing 911. And I said, no, really, the EMS is right down the street. They'll be able to help you. If you just go, I'll go ahead and I'll call them for you, but you can go straight down the road, make a left, and they are going to be right there, just a little bit, not even a mile down the road. Well, by now, I think he suspected that I was calling 911. This man ran off of the porch. He got into that van that was still parked in the street with the door open, the side door open. And he didn't close the door. In my sight, he got in the van and he hit reverse and reversed down my street so fast and backed up and took off. This man intended to do only Lord knows what, to kidnap me. I wonder what would happen to my son. I wonder what would happen to me. I wonder what would happen to my loved one. My son and loved one, they were sleeping. I was the only one up. I just wonder to this very day what would have happened if they would have, come and find that I was missing, or would they, if I had screamed, what would have happened to all of us? Now, I know that this was not a mistake or a one-off, all right? Some weird man wanting to do this, because it happened again. Now, some months later, it happened again, but this time they drove up into our yard. My sister was off to college, all right? And she would only come home on the weekends. And sometimes she wouldn't come home on the weekends. But this weekend, someone drove into our yard and drove all the way up under a certain tree where my sister usually parks when she comes home. And they parked the vehicle there. And I recognized that it was a car just like my sister's, but like how you can have say a Sentra, right? But a 1989 Sentra or a 1992 Sentra are not going to be the same. They can look similar, but they're not the same. I recognized that it was a car like hers, but it was not the same year. And immediately I knew it wasn't hers, and I called 911. A white male got out and came to the porch and knocked on the door. And I said, yes, similar thing. He said, hello? I said, yes, how can I help you? Hello? I said, yes, how can I help you? By now, I'm dialing 911. All right. And he runs off of the porch and he leaves. Right. Now, I'm talking to 911, the dispatcher. And long story short, the sheriff was around, And he told me the next morning that he actually saw the car. He heard the call come in, and he was actually parked down the street, and he saw the car. And I often wondered, like, why didn't you just sit at the end of a certain road? Because the road that the car went down, he could only come out one or the other way. So it was a U. All right. It was about 2 mile road, but you can only come in and go out through one or the other road. So if you went in at one end, you would either have to turn around or you'd go around the entire U and come out on the other end. So if you sat in the middle, you're going to see that person when they come out. And so long story short, they didn't catch the guy, but this was another incident. He was also driving a white vehicle because my sister had a white vehicle. All right. And so I'm telling you this, guys, to let you know that these kidnapping incidences or suspicions within the Black community, within Latino community, and other communities, even here on the African continent, are real. They are very much real. And so I want to make others aware. I want to warn you, if you're going to America, do not trust just anyone. Do not open your door for anyone. If you are in America, do not open your door for just anyone. Anyone crying and saying their loved one is sick, their child is hurt, this, that, and the other, do not fall for it. Now, who are the suspects? In my mind, everybody's a suspect. As I stated, we owned a good bit of land there. I'm not going to go into too much details. There are a number of issues that could have contributed to this, or a number of players. But I want to say that I know now that this is part of another network, okay, because of things that I have experienced since then and the path that I was on coming to Africa. All right. And when I say that if any of you have heard me say that I'm a targeted individual, I'm not crazy. I got good sense. Everybody knows it. All right. But this is a real thing. And I can explain why, but I'd have to share a number of things about my life. I'm a very personal person, and I don't really see the point of sharing everything. But I do want you guys to know that there are many of you who are experiencing things that are plotted against you. You're literally targeted by organized criminal organizations. Some of them involve police, some of them involve military, some of them involve civilians, and you need to be aware of this. I've even seen a video years ago of an Israelite who demonstrated online himself being targeted. He went to a shopping center and he said, watch, in a few minutes, a number of white cars are going to show up here and they're just going to park. And within a few minutes, he sat there and they started showing up just like that. There are networks of individuals who are carrying out gang stalking and a number of other things. Also, I want to share that I, without giving too much details, years later, much later than this, I ended up winning, let's just say, winning and receiving a federal ruling. Okay, not just the right to sue, but a federal ruling that determined, that was ruled in my favor, put it like this. All right, without a lawyer, because you can do nothing against the truth, only for the truth. Later on, the lawyer just came and basically settled things, but this was years later, as far as, disbursements of funds and such. But this was years later. I'd already traveled to Africa. But I discovered that a lot of things that I experienced coming to Africa, always being chosen as a selectee, a number of things were all signs of something that I knew nothing about. And so I want to just share with you all quickly. If you haven't heard of 60 Minutes documentary called Havana Syndrome, I want you to look that up. All right. Watch the entire series. The entire series. You're going to see that a number of people have been targeted under this Havana Syndrome. And it's not what they want you to think. The government has basically hijacked, the narrative. But there are a lot of people, including CIA, FBI, who have been targeted. Foreign people traveling abroad. Watch that and you'll understand more. But I just want to warn you guys, be careful. On and off the continent, there are real kidnappers out there who are seeking to devour. But if Yah before us, who can be against us? Shalom, I love you, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.